everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday, Hey, Scotty Mac Live. Glad you are with us. Thank you so much for checking out the show this morning. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here on this Tuesday as we put last weekend's college football to bed and we start moving ahead toward this upcoming weekend. I am Scott McKinney. Glad you're with us. And if you're watching us on our Facebook Live this morning, good morning to all of you. We appreciate you checking us out as always. We're here pretty much most weekdays from 7 a.m. until we finish up. And then, of course, we've got a couple other shows that we do throughout the week, including our new show that we started a couple of weeks ago called Dudley's Duds, where in the old Leonard Losers format, we pick the losers with our good friend Dudley Suttlemeyer, usually on Fridays. They also have our college football recruiting show on Fridays and our college football game day show on Saturday mornings where we pick the games. And after this past weekend, a great weekend of picking games for us against the spread. You know, anybody can pick games. And I'm going to fix the camera because I'm seeing now that the camera is, there we go. I think we're having some camera issues this morning with our camera, but hopefully we get that resolved. But anybody can pick games that are, I guess, just picking winners and losers. But for us, we're picking games against the spread. That means whatever Las Vegas says is the spread, that's what we're picking. Not just the winner, but who's going to cover the spread. So we went 10-1 against the spread this past weekend, which was really cool. And we are hoping for another big weekend. We've had a great year so far. Around 65% of our games against the spread, which last year in Las Vegas, the handicapper, the picker that they have a national contest out there that we're actually thinking about entering for next year. And the picker who won last year picked 68%. And the way it works out there is people put up all these handicappers. They have about 40 of them or so that put up $1,500 of their own money. They put up $1,500 each of their own money, and they pick the college football games against the spread at the end of the year. Whoever has done the best wins the entire pot. Now, I don't have any illusions that it'd be nice for us to win that entire pot, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be fun? You have 40 people putting up $1,500 in Las Vegas for that, but we're thinking about entering that just to kind of see where we are on a national level. But we have been on fire lately, knock on wood, and we hope to continue to be as this weekend rolls in. But we got a lot to talk about this morning. We're going to kind of go over the college football polls. We're going to put as I mentioned, a big wrap on this past weekend and start looking forward to the next weekend. Also, Ole Miss issued an apology yesterday to Houston Nutt, which kind of came a little bit of a surprise in the timing, but it was due. If you've read the whole paperwork and read the whole lawsuit that's been involved in that, you understand that that was going to happen, and it should have happened. We'll talk about that. Also, what's wrong with the Florida Gators? We're going to talk this morning about what's wrong with this Florida Gator football team, and can they salvage what they are doing this year, and what can they do to salvage what they are doing this year. So we're going to get into that in just a little bit and talk about the Gators. Also, big football game in Tallahassee this weekend, and we'll talk about Florida State and Louisville and what's wrong with these Louisville Cardinals. And we got the very latest on the situation at Tennessee with Butch Jones. And, of course, we know what's lying ahead for Tennessee, a big game coming up this weekend at Alabama. And, boy, some things that we're hearing now up there in Knoxville, things are not good. So we'll talk about that, all of those things and more. Again, we want to thank our great sponsors at Bayou Bill's Crab House. It's where the locals go get seafood, incredible seafood dishes like their Apalachicola oysters, like the blue crab straight out of Choctawhatchee Bay. They've got an amazing selection of great seafood at Bayou Bill's. And if you haven't been to Bayou Bill's, you know the season is over. We're getting into the fall. Things are slowing down. Now's the perfect time. If you're local in the Panhandle, head over to Bayou Bill's and check them out. Super place to watch the games as well. They've got two stores for you, one in Santa Rosa Beach and the other located in Inlet Beach. Also want to thank our friends at my-pack.com. You see the backpack here. This is just one of the examples. These amazing backpacks are awesome, very sturdy, and of course the things that we love is that window. See that window right in front where you can print out whatever you want to print and slide in there these are great Christmas gift ideas. Now's the time to order for those. You know, kids are wearing out backpacks. These are very sturdy, extremely sturdy backpacks. People are loving them. The only place you can get it is online, and you got to go to my-pak.com. That's my-pak.com to get those. So thank you to our friends at my-pak, P-A-K. Also, our friends at Acme Oyster House, the brand new store at Seascape there in Miramar Beach. That place is amazing. We're actually going to be doing some of our shows from over there. We're getting it all set up now. Looking forward to being over at Acme Oyster House. Brand new store. It is beautiful. It got a great outside sitting area. Now that it's cooling off outside, you're going to want to go there and check that out. And go check out all their great Louisiana dishes like their etouffee, their gumbo, jambalaya, and more. Incredible po' boys, everything fresh daily right there at Acme Oyster House. Also, our friends at 98 Barbecue, Santa Rosa Beach. You know, as the weather cools off, you love a good bowl of gumbo or love a good bowl of Brunswick stew. They make it fresh every day at 98 Barbecue in Santa Rosa Beach. Get over there and check it out. You're going to love the food at 98 Barbecue, everything freshly made. Well, we're glad you're with us, and if you're just joining us, I see a lot of our great listeners popping up, like LSU Melinda, good morning. I see our good friend Richard Fields, a.k.a. Tiger Woods, checking in with us this morning. Good to see you guys checking in. There's my buddy Blake Jones up in Booneville, Mississippi, who says he just got back from Vegas. Very different after the incident, but a great place to visit and be a part of. You know, Blake, I've never been to Vegas. I've been a lot of wonderful places and done a lot of great things in my life, but I've never been to Vegas, so I definitely need to get out to Vegas. Maybe we can go out there next spring. It'd be fun to do some shows out there, wouldn't it? But good morning, everybody watching. Say hello to us. Type in where you are watching on Facebook Live from this morning. We would greatly appreciate it. And also hit the like button and the share button. You see those buttons there? Hit the like button and the share button. We would greatly appreciate that. When you hit the share button, let me tell you what that does. It shares our broadcast on your Facebook page, obviously, but then all of your Facebook friends then are exposed to what we do, and it grows our audience. I can't express to you enough how important it is that we get you to share the broadcast if you enjoy it. I mean, just check in with us, share the broadcast, share it, please. Share it, and we greatly appreciate it. And good morning, Billy in Freeport this morning. Love me some Freeport, Florida, the port, baby. So good morning to you, sir. And there's Phil from Mexia. Is that M-E-X-I-A? Mexia, Alabama. Good morning, Phil. And good to see you. LSU Melinda is over there in Pensacola. G-E-A-U-X, go Tigers. I know she nearly had a heart attack watching that game the other day. All right, let's talk some college football, guys. So we got a big weekend coming up, and there's several things happening out there. And following up on this past weekend, you know, what a great weekend. You know, we said last Wednesday and Thursday, keep an eye out for the upset bug. Usually there's one or two weekends every year where you get some big upsets, and this weekend was no different. We had the Clemson Tigers going down on Friday night to Syracuse. We had Washington State going down. Auburn, ranked number 10th in the country, going down at LSU. So it was a big weekend of upsets. More upsets are coming. You just feel it in the air. And we're going to talk about tomorrow and the next day where those upsets are. I get a feeling there are not that many upsets coming this morning, but there are some coming like the next week and the next week. So, hey, good morning, Darlene in Pensacola. How are you? Good morning. By the way, Darlene emails in every week in our Pick'em contest, as does LSU Melinda representing the ladies. We've got about 30, 35 people each week that pick. And if you've not joined there, you're saying, what are you talking about, Scott? I've never heard that. Each week we put out a sheet that's got 13 college games on it, and we email it to you. You make your picks and email it back, and the winner gets a $20 gift card from 98 Barbecue each week, which is really cool. So if you have not been entering our contest and you would like to, you can just type in your email address here on this, or if you just want to email me at heyscottymac@gmail.com. Again, type in your email address right here on the Facebook broadcast, and I'll email you the form, or you can email me at heyscottymac@gmail.com. So we'll get you on there. Ole Miss issued an apology yesterday to Houston Nutt. You know, Houston Nutt had sued Ole Miss saying, hey, you're defaming my name. You are saying things that about me in the NCAA investigation that aren't true. Ole Miss have been very defiant about the whole thing, saying, no, you were the reason, one of the reasons that we got into NCAA trouble with our football program. Well, in a big turn of events, a complete 180 shift yesterday, Ole Miss settled their lawsuit with Houston Nutt and issued a public apology saying that there were certain staff members who were blaming Houston Nutt, and that was incorrect. That Houston Nutt did a good job while he was at Ole Miss. He followed the NCAA rules, did not break the NCAA rules. I found that also very interesting. And it's almost like Ole Miss is in damage control right now, trying to salvage whatever it is they can salvage from their reputation of their football program. I did speak to someone yesterday who's very close to the NCAA situation. He's not with Ole Miss, but another university. He said that Ole Miss will probably hear from the results from their meeting they're hearing with the Committee on Infractions sometime within the next 2 to 4 weeks, that they suspect it's going to come pretty soon. He said, I can't tell you why, but he said they're going to hear from this pretty soon. So Ole Miss is going to hear very soon about the final decision by the Committee of Infractions of what their penalties will be. So we'll find out how serious those penalties will be, or if the NCAA accepts whatever penalties Ole Miss has already put out there. So it's kind of interesting to see how this thing plays out. A lot of people have been saying, well, because North Carolina's basketball team and their basketball program got off without any NCAA sanctions whatsoever, Ole Miss, that's a good sign for Ole Miss. But the truth is the two are not connected in any form or fashion and will not have any relevance on each other, will not have any effect on each other. So I think if you're an Ole Miss fan, you have to be expecting the worst. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you have to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. So we'll talk more about that. What's going on with those Florida Gators? We're going to talk about that coming up in a few minutes, and also the latest on the Tennessee situation with Butch Jones. But good morning to everybody. Glad you're with us here. Don't forget to check out our audio-only version of the podcast at heyscottymac.podbean.com. That's heyscottymac.podbean.com. And also, we are now officially on iTunes. If you go to iTunes in the store there, just search for Hey Scotty Mac. No spacing, 3 words. Hey Scotty Mac. You don't have to put any spacing, just like you would type it out normally. Hey Scotty Mac. And you could subscribe to the show on iTunes. We would greatly appreciate that. So we're so thankful to have you guys this morning. We got a lot going on. We're going to talk about the Florida Gators. We're going to talk about the LSU Fighting Tigers. Big game for LSU coming up at Ole Miss this weekend. Big game for Mississippi State hosting Kentucky. That's going to be a huge game this weekend. We got some thoughts. We'll start looking into that. And we'll also talk about these Miami Hurricanes. How in the world did they beat Georgia Tech without some of their top offensive playmakers this past weekend? So what is Mark Richt doing down there at Miami? So all of that and more, plus, yeah, we probably will have to interject a little bit of political talk in here, simply because Greg Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, has made some interesting comments. As a matter of fact, I may bring those up next. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got more to get to right here on this edition of Hey Scotty Mac Live. You guys hold the line. We're coming right back. Everybody, glad you are with us here. Checking all of our glad to have you with us this morning. If you're watching on Facebook Live, hello to everybody. We got a lot of stuff going on. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing this morning. Thank you for sharing a little time with us. And again, if you're watching us live on Facebook, good morning to you. If you're watching us maybe later in the day, on the recorded version of the show on Facebook, hello to you as well. Whatever time of the day it is, please hit the like button and hit the share button this morning. That means so much to us. If you miss everything else, just go ahead and do that for me. I would appreciate that so very much. It makes all the difference in the world. So glad to have you with us this morning as we talk a little college football and more. And you know, it's not college football, but I want to get into this just for a moment. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the latest. It seems like there's something every day coming out of the White House, and whether you're a Donald Trump supporter or not, and look, I don't, you know, one of my favorite sayings has always been, I don't have a dog in that fight, but the truth is we all have a dog in this fight because it is our country we live in. It is our president that is in our country. So, well, I didn't vote for him. He's not my president. Well, if you are a citizen of the United States, no matter if you voted for the guy or not, he's our president. He's representing us. And I'm not a detractor of the guy, but I'm not a fan of the guy. I've been disappointed in some things that have been said and done. And but I think there have been some good things the guy has done too. So I'm not going to completely throw him under the bus. So I think the jury for me is still out to whatever degree. But in case you missed it, Greg Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, had some very harsh comments yesterday about Donald Trump. And I want to read those to you in case you've missed them. Greg Popovich said, "I've been amazed and disappointed by so much of what this president has said and his approach to running this country, which seems to be one of just a never-ending divisiveness. But his comments today about those who have lost loved ones in times of war and his lies that previous presidents Obama and Bush never contacted their families is so beyond the pale, I almost don't have the words. This man in the Oval Office is a soulless coward who thinks that he can only become large by belittling others. This has, of course, been a common practice of his, but to do it in this manner and to lie about how previous presidents responded to the deaths of soldiers is as low as it gets. We have a pathological liar in the White House unfit intellectually, emotionally, and psychologically to hold this office, and the whole world knows it, especially those around him every day. The people who work with this president should be ashamed because they know it better than anyone just how unfit he is, and yet they choose to do nothing about it. This is their shame most of all." That's pretty strong words from Greg Popovich. And if you're wondering what he's talking about, there were 4 soldiers that died overseas in the latest attacks over there. Maybe you did hear about it, but Donald Trump asked about it. And normally presidents will call the families, sitting presidents will call the families to console them and offer their condolences on behalf of our nation. But Donald Trump said, "I'm not going to call their families. The time's not right. I'm going to wait till later." Not only that, I'm not the only one that hasn't done this. President Bush and President Obama didn't call families either. Well, it's come out that President Obama and President Bush and pretty much every other president did call. They have called families immediately to offer their condolences and their sorrows for the loss that their family has suffered. So I think that, while I understand why Donald Trump would say, look, I'm going to give them a little time to get over their grief before I call them, I get it. Even though I don't agree, I think as the president, he should be the first call that they get. I don't think, by bringing up other presidents was the right thing to do. So was Greg Popovich out of line here, or was he appropriate in saying what he said? And Greg Popovich is probably one of the most respected people in sports, not just the NBA, but in sports overall. But we've put that up on our Facebook page. We put the entire quote up on our Scott McKinney Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/Scott McKinney, just check it out and read it. And we give you a place at the bottom to give your comments. I would love to hear your comments on them and your thoughts. So it's kind of interesting. But I wanted to bring that up because we put that on our Facebook page. I want to get your comments on it. We're putting up daily, socioeconomic and political and life scenarios and getting your comments on it. So if you get a chance to comment on it, I would greatly appreciate it. And normally, Melinda says, you shouldn't go there. Stick to sports. Sports need to be sports, and that's all. No politics. You're right, Melinda. And normally, me, I run away from this. But I guess I'm just bringing up that we are putting it on our Facebook for people to comment. I'm not going to get into it, but I guess I'm looking to be a place where everyone can come and comment either left or right. And I just find it fascinating. So I'm not going to get off in the middle of it other than to give you guys a platform to come and speak your mind and do it on our Facebook page. Truthfully, it helps drive a lot of people to our Facebook page. And we started last week just by posting different things, whether it's political, whether it's social, economic issues or whatever, and allowing you to comment. So, but I'm with you, Melinda. I will run to the hills. Now, I'm not going to get off in the middle of the weeds myself, but I will throw issues out there and say, what do you think? Are you left, right? Give me your opinion. So we've got that out there. You know, let's talk about these Florida Gators for a minute. We'll switch back over to sports. Oh, by the way, let's say hello to Adam in Oxford, Mississippi. Good morning, Adam. Thank you for saying hello to us. We appreciate that so very much. Good to hear from you up there in Oxford, where I believe it's a little bit cooler up there as well. Let's go back and talk about these Florida Gators. You know, this Gator football team really struggling right now, but I'm really shocked that people are surprised. There's no reason to be surprised because this Florida Gator team, essentially going back to August when the news came out about those players being suspended, from that point, it's just been a very difficult and bumpy road for Jim McElwain and his Gators. It has been very difficult. And I think that continues for the Gators moving forward in that Jim McElwain has got to find a way, which I think he's done a good job of, keeping this team together and keeping this team at least on the right page. I like Jim McElwain. I think he's the coach that Florida needs. But certainly everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. It's been a little bit of Murphy's Law for them. You know, you'd lose your number one returning running back, Jordan Scarlett, to the issues that happened with the University credit card. You lose Antonio Callaway, your top receiver and return guy, to those same issues. You lose the depth of seven other players in that situation. Then you've lost Tyree Cleveland to an ankle injury. Your quarterback play has been inconsistent at best. And you've had some good luck. Obviously, the play that beat Tennessee, you were living right. You beat Kentucky. That's good luck. But for Jim McElwain, he has to be and feel a little bit snake bit. But I think you have to look at Florida, too, of the overall progress of the program and where they are. You know, think about this. If Will Grier had not gotten himself involved in those steroids or whatever he was taking there, and I do believe that was totally innocent, and I just believe he got caught up in it, and he felt like the best thing he needed to do was transfer because he was being suspended for a year basically by the NCAA. And things he did feel like that maybe he didn't get the support at Florida he deserved. But, you know, if Will Grier had still been there, this is a Gator team that likely would be undefeated at this point. I do believe if Will Grier had been there, they would have beaten LSU. I do think they would have beaten Texas A&M. I think they probably would have had a very good chance of beating Michigan in that opening game. I really believe that. But now this Gator team has lost 2 in a row. And they do get an open date this weekend. And the truth is this open date is coming at a perfect time because next week they face what I think is the second best team in not only the SEC, but I think the second best team in the nation in the Georgia Bulldogs. That's coming up a week from this Saturday. But then Florida finishes up at home, or rather on the road at Missouri, at South Carolina, at home against UAB, and at home against Florida State. And the truth is all 4 of those games are winnable games. So I guess the point I'm trying to make to Gator fans is don't get overly sold out on the Gators just yet because this is a Gator team probably going to lose to Georgia, but I think you're going to beat Missouri. Winning at South Carolina is not out of the picture. It's going to be difficult, but it's certainly something you can do. Beating UAB you can do. And then we've seen Florida State look pedestrian so far. So this is a Gator team that I still think can have a 7-5 year. I kind of think they're headed towards 7-5. There is a chance they could go 6-6. I think the South Carolina game becomes the pivotal game because let's say Florida loses to Georgia like we expect, and then all of a sudden they're 3-4. Then if they beat Missouri and beat UAB, they're 5-4. Then they've got at South Carolina and home against Florida State. And I think that South Carolina game becomes a super pivotal game for them to try to find a way to win. Don't give up on this Gator football team. This is a very young team. They're playing, 21 freshmen right now. They and LSU are playing more freshmen than anybody in the country. Florida is going to survive this, and they're going to be fine. And I don't think the answer is firing Jim McElwain or any of his staff. There's vibes around football program. For example, the vibe around the Tennessee program right now is not good at all. And I think most people would agree that that ball has been rolling downhill so long that you're not going to stop it. And the only way to change at Tennessee is not to change coordinators. It's not to change systems, but essentially you're going to have to change entire coaching staffs. I just think that's where they're at. I don't ever want to call for anybody to be fired, but I think we all see the handwriting on the wall at Tennessee with Butch Jones. You don't get that same vibe with Florida. Recruiting this year, like, for example, what's going on right now is through the roof. Florida's got one of the top 3 to 4 recruiting classes in the country. And the talent is going to be rebuilt. You're missing, you could only have 85 players on scholarship. Well, right now there's only 76 players on scholarship because you've got those 9 players suspended that have been removed from scholarship. So there's extra scholarships to give. I think what you're also going to see, I was talking to one of their folks down there very close to their program last Friday before the Texas A&M game. Jim McElwain is going to dip into Texas and California and even to Mississippi and pick up junior college players. He is going to go after some junior college defensive backs, some junior college offensive linemen, perhaps a junior college wide receiver. So I think you're going to see Florida also. They've already had a great recruiting class for high school kids, but I think you're going to see the Gators really dip into the JUCO ranks now over the course of the next couple of months. And when the early signing period and early enrollment in January starts, I think you're going to be surprised. So I don't feel like you should give up on the Gators. A lot of Gator fans I know are down and discouraged. I wouldn't really be right now. Now, what is the situation with Butch Jones? Well, based on what we're hearing and talking to some people in Knoxville yesterday, I think the loss last week in South Carolina sealed the deal that Butch Jones will be bought out, will be let go, probably at the end of the season. Some people were saying, oh, you got to get rid of Butch Jones now. Well, the truth is you don't want to do that, and here's why. You get rid of Butch Jones, say this past Sunday, then you name an interim coach, and that interim coach, his first task is taking on the number 1 team in the country, Alabama. No. Butch Jones, you got us into this mess. Butch Jones, you're going to have to face the music of playing Alabama, and it's going to be bad. Tennessee is a 34-point underdog. If I read this correctly, it's been over 20 years since Tennessee was that big of an underdog to anybody. The Tennessee Volunteers are a 34-point underdog against Alabama. And doing a little other research, I don't know that Tennessee has ever in the history of their program and the history of Las Vegas been a 30-plus point underdog to any SEC team. I can't find where Tennessee's ever been an underdog of 30 points or more to any SEC team. They were a 30-point underdog to Miami, or was it? It's been about 20-plus years ago. It was a non-conference game, and they were a big underdog. Tennessee was kind of struggling toward the end of the Johnny Majors regime there, and they were a big underdog in the only game I have found. Now, what happens? Do you fire Butch Jones then right after the Alabama game? I don't think so. I think for me, I think Butch Jones finishes out the year because that puts too much turmoil on your program that's already there. Let's look at Tennessee's schedule. Now, we can make a case for the fact him being fired. We understand that immediately. But I think you're Butch Jones. Hey, it's not fair to have an interim coach go up against Alabama. You got us here. What are you going to be able to do? Past that, next week, Tennessee is at Kentucky. It's a question mark game. Then they're at home against Southern Miss. And I'm going to tell you, Jay Hobson's Southern Miss team is not bad. That's a question mark game. Then they're at Missouri. Well, here's the thing. Tennessee, as of today, they've lost 2 in a row. They've lost to Georgia. They've lost to South Carolina. If they lose this week to Alabama, and if they lose next week to Kentucky, Southern Miss comes in with Tennessee on a 4-game losing streak, And, boy, you talking about the players imploding. If they lose that game and then they go to Missouri on a 5-game losing streak, they could lose that one. Then they have LSU coming to town and then Vanderbilt coming to town. There's a chance that Tennessee could end the season losing 8 games in a row. There's a chance Tennessee could lose every game on its schedule the rest of the way. Now, the truth is, I suspect they'll beat Southern Miss at home. It'll be close. I suspect they'll beat Missouri at Missouri, and I think they'll beat Vanderbilt in Knoxville. So that's 3 wins. They're definitely going to lose to Alabama this Saturday. The LSU game, they've got LSU coming in on November the 18th as a question mark game. But I think you're looking, Tennessee, I think they're looking, and I said this back in the summer, and a lot of people kind of got on to me. I think Tennessee's looking at a 6-6 year with a chance of 5-7. Is there an outside shot at 7-5? I think so. Is 7-5 good enough for Butch Jones? No. Butch Jones is done, folks. He is done. Now, where the question becomes at this point, who does Tennessee get? Do they start? They're looking around now. Of course they do. The athletic director at Tennessee is already looking, and I can promise you, he is already talking to people. He's already talking to Jimmy Sexton, the agent of most of the head football coaches. He's already talking to the headhunters. He's already talking to the people that know college football. The guy we're talking about is John Curry. Now John Curry is, if you recall, relatively new. He is taking over up there as the athletic director, and this is going to be a huge hire for them. John Curry came in from Kansas State, so he understands the importance of football. He had Bill Snyder out there, and the truth is he's probably talked to Bill Snyder about who he should hire. I bring this guy up because here's some interesting kind of things to think about in the Tennessee situation, right? Just think about this. He was at Kansas State for 8 years. They went to 7 straight bowl games. They won the Big 12 championship, I think, in 2012. So they've had football success out there. This guy understands what it takes for football. He's also been at Tennessee. He understands, as a former assistant AD at Tennessee, the passion there is at Tennessee, right? He's also been at Wake Forest. He understands that as well. And the fact, by the way, that he did go to school at Tennessee, he understands more so than ever about the tradition of Tennessee football. Where does he go? Well, a lot of people feel like because he's been around Bill Snyder that he could possibly dip back into the Big 12. Now, Kevin Sumlin's name is being mentioned at Tennessee. It's also being mentioned at Ole Miss. And also, we're hearing Cliff Kingsbury is the top target at Tennessee. Cliff Kingsbury, the Texas Tech coach, has done a really good job out there, very young, very energetic. John Curry wants a younger coach. And he's going to dip back into the Big 12, most likely, where he came from, and pull somebody out of there. Now, Kevin Sumlin, obviously, out of Texas, in the SEC at Texas A&M, but has those Big 12 ties. So I suspect you're going to see John Curry bring somebody that has Texas ties or somebody that has Big 12 ties to Knoxville. And Butch Jones, now, he's gone. I'm hearing that if they get destroyed by Alabama this weekend, which I think there's a chance, that you could see Butch Jones fired on Sunday. I don't think that's the right thing. I think you got to leave him around, let him finish the job. But I think you could see him gone as early as Sunday. But if you're John Curry, why not keep him on keep him on for now until you got a better plan in place? So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Got some more college football to talk about. A lot of things happening. We're getting ready for another great week of college football. We're excited about what's going on coming up this weekend. Some big matchups. You're going to love what's happening this weekend. We're going to go over some of the schedule stuff. We look at some of that. A lot of things happening. We're glad you're with us. We'll take a quick break. We're coming right back on Hey Scotty Mac live right here on our broadcast this morning.
Under the direction of Professor Jamie L. Nix, the M Fanfare.